The first time I realized my wedding might not happen, it wasn't a scream or a fight or a slammed door. It was one quiet sentence spoken softly across a room full of people who suddenly stopped breathing. And the worst part is, I earned it because I laughed first. I'm Waverly, 28, and I work as a patient coordinator at a busy clinic where everyone thinks I'm unshakable. I'm the woman who remembers birthdays, who brings the extra charger, who smooths over awkward silences with a joke. I thought that made me strong. It didn't. It just made me loud. It started with a ring box and a set of keys. My fiancé, Beckett, slid the velvet box across our kitchen counter like he was afraid it might bite. His hands were steady, but his eyes weren't. There was a small tremor behind them that I didn't understand yet. Before you say yes, he said, there's something I need to tell you. The kettle behind us clicked off. The apartment smelled like cinnamon because I'd burned a candle to make the moment feel like a movie. In my head, I could already see the photos, my hand over my mouth, his smile, the tears, the whole thing. I laughed lightly. If this is one of those speeches about how you're not perfect, I already know. He didn't laugh back. It's about the cabin, he said, and his voice went careful. Your aunt's place, the one you inherited. My stomach warmed, proud and tender. That cabin wasn't just property. It was the first thing anyone had ever left me that felt like love with a deed attached. My aunt used to call it my quiet place. When she passed, she left it to me with a note that said, protect your peace the way you protect everybody else. I'd cried so hard my face swelled. What about it? I asked. Beckett swallowed. My mom asked me if we could use it for the rehearsal dinner, and then she asked if we could put it into a family trust after the wedding, just for stability. She said it would make things easier. I blinked. Easier for who? He shifted his weight like the floor had become slippery. She said it would keep it safe from, outsiders. I stared at him, trying to find the joke. Outsiders? I'm not an outsider. His jaw tightened. I know, but that's how she talks. And that's when I did what I always do when I don't want to feel afraid. I laughed. Not a sweet laugh, not a nervous one. A sharp laugh, like a tiny knife. Your mom is obsessed with drama, I said, and you're letting it get to you. Waverly, he started, but I cut him off because I felt the urge to win. Don't be jealous of what I have, I teased, like it was cute, like I was flirting, like I wasn't stepping on something fragile. I said yes to you. That should be enough. The look on his face wasn't anger. It was something quieter, something like grief, but I still didn't recognize it. He opened the ring box anyway. The diamond caught candlelight, bright and innocent. I said yes. I kissed him. I posted the photo. I made jokes in the caption about finally locking him down, and the first tiny crack in our foundation formed under the glitter. A few days later, we went to dinner at his parents' house. They lived in a neat suburb where the lawns looked shaved, and the neighbors all waved like they had rehearsed it. His mother opened the door with the same smile she used at church, wide and polished and sharp around the corners. She hugged me for the length of a camera flash, long enough to show affection, short enough to show control. His father stayed behind her, nodding like a man who had learned that talking only made things worse. His sister was there too, sitting at the table with a planner open like she owned the month. She was the kind of woman who spoke in bullet points and made everyone else feel messy. Oh good, his mother said, gesturing me inside. We can finally talk details. The smell of roast chicken hit me. The table was already set, place cards, cloth napkins folded into perfect triangles. It felt like a meeting disguised as a family meal. I sat beside Beckett. He reached for my hand under the table and I let him, but I stayed smiling because that's who I am in rooms like that. I'm the one who can handle it. His mother brought out dessert before we even finished dinner. That should have been my warning. She wanted sugar on our tongues so we'd swallow whatever came next. She slid a folder across the table toward me. A literal folder. Beige, thick, official looking. I spoke to our attorney, she said pleasantly. Nothing scary, just practical. Beckett went rigid beside me. I opened it, expecting maybe venue paperwork, maybe a vendor contract she'd offered to help with. It was a trust document. My name at the top, my cabin's address beneath it. I looked up slowly. Why is this here? His mother sipped her iced tea. Because you're joining this family. We do things the right way. His sister leaned in, smiling like she was trying to be my friend. It protects you too. It means if something happens to Beckett, everything stays within the family. Within the family, I repeated, and the words tasted like metal. Beckett's knee bounced under the table fast. He cleared his throat. Mom, we didn't agree to this. His mother's smile didn't move. Sweetheart, you agreed to stability when you proposed. I turned to him, expecting him to correct her, to push back hard. He looked at me instead, eyes apologizing, and I felt something shift in my chest. Not jealousy, not anger, something worse, embarrassment. I forced a laugh because I could feel his mother watching for weakness. This is a lot for a Tuesday, I joked lightly. His mother tilted her head. Oh honey, it's not a lot. It's just paperwork. You love my son, don't you? I could feel the room press in on me. Everyone waiting. Everyone pretending it wasn't pressure while it absolutely was. Beckett squeezed my hand under the table like he was begging me not to. And I, brilliant me, decided to prove I was the easy one, the modern one, the cool one, the woman who wasn't threatened by tradition or control. So I smiled. Of course I love him. His mother slid a pen closer. I didn't sign. I didn't have to. Not yet. But I nodded like I might because I wanted the room to relax, and I told myself I'd talk to Beckett later, privately, like adults. I told myself it wasn't that deep. On the drive home, Beckett's fingers stayed clenched on the steering wheel. I'm sorry, he said finally. I stared out the window at the streetlights streaking past like tired fireflies. It's fine. It's not fine, he whispered. She crossed a line. I exhaled. She's being her. He glanced at me and his eyes were raw. And what am I being? I didn't answer fast enough, so he filled the silence himself. I'm being the guy who keeps warning you, he said, voice quiet. And I'm getting tired of being treated like I'm overreacting. There it was again, that grief thing. And I still somehow made it about winning. You're being dramatic, I said, with a small laugh that was supposed to soften it. His mouth went still. Okay, that one word should have scared me, but I told myself it was fine because wedding stress makes everyone sensitive, right? Right. The next scene didn't happen in his mother's house. It happened at my clinic. I was printing discharge paperwork when my coworker leaned over my shoulder and said, is that your bridal shower flyer? I frowned. Wait, what flyer? She turned her phone toward me. There was a photo of me and Beckett from our engagement post, but it had been cropped, so my hand with the ring was front and center. Underneath it, in fancy script, it said something like a celebration of love and new beginnings. And below that, in smaller text, it said, sponsored by Family Trust Services. My stomach dropped because my bridal shower wasn't sponsored by anything. It was being planned by my best friend and my cousin. It was supposed to be simple. Cute games, mimosas, nothing weird. I stared at the screen. Where did you find this? My coworker's eyebrows lifted. It's on your fiance's mom's page. She tagged a bunch of people. It's public. My hands started to shake and I pretended it was the cold air in the office. I pulled up the post myself, heart pounding. There were comments. So excited to welcome you to the family. Beautiful couple. And then one comment that made my throat go dry. He's lucky she's bringing assets into the marriage. Smart move to protect the family. Another one followed. Hope she understands what joining a family like this requires. My cheeks burned. My ears rang. I could feel my blood turning into hot sand. I called Beckett right there, stepping into the hallway by the vending machines where the lights always flickered. He answered on the second ring. Hey babe, did your mom post a bridal shower flyer? I asked, voice too calm. That mentions a trust service. Silence. Then a slow inhale. She said she was helping. He said carefully. Helping, I repeated. By making it look like I'm marrying you from my cabin. His voice dropped. I didn't know she wrote it like that. I closed my eyes, fighting the urge to cry in a hallway that smelled like stale chips. Beckett, I look stupid. No, he said immediately. You don't. She does. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to feel protected. But the truth was, the people reading that post didn't see his mother as the problem. They saw me as the woman who needed to be managed. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started searching through my email like a detective in a bad movie. Wedding folders, vendor threads, PDFs, anything. And that's when I found it. A forwarded email from my wedding venue coordinator. The subject line was innocent. Venue policies and access list. I clicked it. There was a reply thread underneath it, and someone had responded from an address I didn't recognize at first. The signature at the bottom made my hands go numb. It was the attorney his mother had mentioned. Attached was a document labeled Asset Consolidation Options. Options, like my cabin was a piece on a board to be moved into place. I stared at the date on the email and felt a slow, sick realization crawl up my spine. This wasn't new. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a plan. My phone buzzed on the counter. A message from Beckett. Can we talk tonight? Please. I'll handle it. I read those words and suddenly saw all the times I'd brushed him off. All the times I'd laughed, called him dramatic, made him feel small because I wanted to be the kind of woman who wasn't controlled. This wasn't him controlling me. This was someone else trying to, and I had been too busy proving I wasn't threatened to notice the knife at my back. I didn't scream. I didn't call his mother. I didn't post anything. I did what I do best when I'm terrified. I got quiet. I opened the cabin file on my laptop, the one with the deed and the insurance and my aunt's handwritten note scanned into a PDF. I stared at her words again. Protect your peace. Then I did something my younger self would have called petty, but my current self recognized as survival. I changed every lock code I could. Bank login, email password, cloud storage, vendor portal, even the smart lock on my apartment door, because Beckett's mother had a way of collecting spare keys just in case. It wasn't revenge. Not yet. It was a boundary, laid down silently like a tripwire. And then, because I wanted to be smarter than my own emotions, I scheduled an appointment with my aunt's old notary in town, the woman who had helped finalize the inheritance paperwork. I asked her one simple question. If someone tried to move my property into a trust without my consent, I said softly, how would I prove it? The notary paused, then said, by showing who requested it, who signed, and who benefited. I thanked her. I hung up, and my stomach clenched because I realized the scariest question wasn't whether Beckett's family wanted my cabin. The scariest question was whether Beckett wanted it too. That night, Beckett came home with his tie loosened, eyes tired. He took one look at my face and stopped walking. What? He asked. I held up my phone, showing him the flyer, the comments, the attorney email thread. His face drained. I swear, he said quickly, stepping closer. I didn't know she did this. I watched him carefully. I needed to believe him, but I couldn't afford blind trust anymore. Then why is your mom using an attorney to email my venue? I asked. He ran a hand through his hair. Because she thinks she can. Because she's always thought she can. And you? I asked, voice steady. Do you think she can? He flinched like I'd slapped him. Waverly, he whispered. I just wanted you to say no, and I wanted you to let me help you hold that line. I stared at him, and for a moment I saw the boy who used to bring me coffee when I was studying, the man who kissed my forehead when I was sick, the person who had tried to warn me without turning it into war. I should have felt relief. Instead, I felt heat behind my eyes. Why didn't you stop her sooner? His voice broke just slightly. Because every time I tried, you laughed. That sentence hit like a door slamming inside my chest. I couldn't even defend myself because it was true. I had turned his concern into a joke, so I wouldn't have to face the truth that my life was about to collide with his family's expectations. I sat down slowly on the couch, palms flat on my knees like I needed to anchor myself. What happens if I don't sign anything? I asked. Beckett's throat bobbed. My mom will make it ugly. Ugly how? I pressed. He looked away, and my heart tightened because avoidance is its own confession. Waverly, he said finally, voice low. She already invited my whole family to the bridal shower. I blinked. So? He swallowed. She told them it's not just a shower. She called it a welcoming. A welcoming, like I was being inducted, like I had to earn my place. And she said, he continued, and his voice sounded sick, that it's the perfect time to clear up misunderstandings about what belongs to who. My skin went cold. I could already picture it. A room full of people smiling too hard. Little jokes disguised as warnings. Family members I barely knew taking turns reminding me that love comes with conditions. Public humiliation wrapped in lace. I stood up, heart racing, and for the first time, I didn't joke. Then we don't go, I said. Beckett shook his head slowly. If we don't go, she'll tell everyone you're hiding something. I stared at him, and my voice came out quieter than I expected. So she's cornered me either way. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I'm sorry. I took a breath. In, out. My mind started doing what it does when I'm forced to choose between being liked and being safe. It started building a plan. And right then, as my phone buzzed with a new notification, my body understood something before my brain could even translate it. This wasn't just about my cabin anymore. It was about who was allowed to decide what my marriage would cost. If you're still here, I appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe, and support the channel because stories like this are the ones people live through silently. Alright, now let me take you back. My phone buzzed again, and this time it was a message in a family group chat I hadn't even realized I'd been added to. I opened it. The first message was from Beckett's mother. Can't wait to celebrate our girl this weekend. And yes, we will be discussing the trust, so everyone's on the same page. My stomach dropped so hard it felt like my ribs shifted, because beneath her message, someone had replied with a photo attachment. A picture of my cabin. Not the outside, not the porch. The inside. My aunt's old living room, with the quilt still folded over the armchair the exact way I always left it. And the caption underneath said, already feels like family property, doesn't it? I stared at that photo until my vision blurred, because it wasn't just proof that someone had crossed a line. It was proof they already felt entitled to what I loved. Beckett's face went pale when I turned the screen toward him. He didn't ask how. He didn't defend her. He just whispered, that's impossible. No, I said, my voice almost calm. It's very possible. She's been planning this. His hands curled into fists, then unclenched. We're going there tonight. I shook my head. Not yet. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me, like he was used to the version of me that laughed things off until they became permanent. Waverly, if we rush in angry, I cut in, she'll turn it into a story where I'm unstable and you're controlled. I'm not giving her that. I walked to the counter, opened my laptop, and pulled up the smart lock app for the cabin. My aunt had insisted on installing it years ago after a break-in down the road. I'd kept it active, even if I didn't go often. My thumb hovered over the access list. There was one old code still saved. Beckett's mother's name. I remembered her standing at my cabin the first time she visited, smiling too sweetly while she helped unpack groceries, offering to hold on to the code in case of emergencies. I'd agreed because I'd wanted peace more than boundaries. I deleted it. Then I opened the entry log. A list appeared. Quiet, clinical, undeniable. Door unlocked. Door locked. Door unlocked again. Not by me, and not by the one temporary code I used when I hired a cleaner. I felt my throat tighten. Beckett leaned over my shoulder, reading. His breath hitched. That's her. I nodded once, slow. Now we have a timeline. He reached for my hand. We can call her right now. We're not calling, I said softly. We're documenting. I could feel something in me shifting. Not into cruelty, but into clarity. I didn't want revenge that left bruises. I wanted a clean ending. I wanted the truth to do the damage for me. I opened my email and forwarded the venue thread to myself, then saved everything into a folder labeled quietly, like it was boring. I took screenshots of the group chat. I took screenshots of the cabin log. I exported the entry history as a file. Then I called the venue coordinator. When she answered, I kept my tone warm, like I was ordering coffee. Hi, this is Waverly. Quick question. Who requested changes to my access list? There was a pause, keys clicking. Let me check. It looks like an attorney's office emailed us, and they were copied by your future mother-in-law. My spine went cold again, but my voice stayed steady. Did anyone approve it? Well, she said carefully, we didn't make changes yet, but they asked for the cancellation policy and requested a new authorized signer list. A new signer list, I repeated. Yes, they asked if your fiance's mother could sign on your behalf for any payment issues. I felt Beckett stiffen beside me. Thank you, I said. Please add a note that any requests not coming from my email address are unauthorized. Also, I'm sending you a verification phrase for phone calls. A verification phrase? She asked, surprised. Yes, I said, calm. If anyone calls pretending to be me, they won't know it. When I hung up, Beckett's voice shook. She's trying to cancel our wedding. I stared at the wall, seeing the shape of it clearly now. The trust wasn't just about my cabin. It was leverage. It was control. It was a way to make me cooperate or make me look guilty. She thinks, I said slowly, that if she can scare me publicly, I'll sign privately. Beckett swallowed. What do we do? I turned to him. We let her hold her little welcoming. His eyes widened. You want to go? I want her to say it. I corrected. I want her to say it in front of witnesses. He looked terrified for me. Waverly, she'll humiliate you. I leaned closer and lowered my voice, the way I do at work when someone is about to panic. She already tried. Now it's my turn to be quiet. That night we drove to the cabin, but we didn't go inside. We parked down the road where the trees thickened and the porch light glowed like a small lie. Beckett's hands stayed locked on the steering wheel, but I was oddly calm, as if my fear had burned off and left only focus. I opened my aunt's old neighbor contact, a retired firefighter who always watched the street like it was his job. He answered on the first ring. You all right, kid? He asked. Not exactly, I said. I need a favor. Have you noticed anyone going in and out of the cabin lately? There was a quiet beat, then he exhaled hard. I was hoping you'd call. I saw a woman there, couple times, drove a nice SUV, acted like she owned the place. My stomach turned. Did you get anything on camera? He didn't even hesitate. I've got footage from my driveway camera, clear as day. I closed my eyes, relief and and rage twisting together. Can you send it to me? Already queued, he said. And Waverly, she had a locksmith with her once. A locksmith. The word landed heavy, because it meant she wasn't just visiting. She was changing access. When the video came through, I didn't watch it alone. Beckett watched beside me. It showed his mother walking up my porch with the confidence of someone arriving home. She waved at the camera like it was cute. Behind her was a man with a tool bag. Then she pointed at my door, and the man knelt down. Beckett's face tightened like he was holding back something feral. She hired someone, he whispered, to break into your inheritance. And she smiled while she did it, I said, my voice flat. We didn't confront her that night. We didn't storm her house. We didn't announce anything. We took the footage, we saved it. And the next morning, I met with the notary. The notary looked at the trust paperwork I'd pulled from the folder at Beckett's parents' dinner. She compared signatures with my driver's license signature on file from years ago when she'd notarized my aunt's documents. Then she lifted her eyes to mine. This document has been prepared to look legitimate, she said carefully, but it's not executed. And if anyone signs for you, it's fraud. I nodded. What if they try to claim I agreed verbally? The notary's mouth tightened. Then you don't argue. You present proof, and you file a report. A report. That was the practical front, the real-world consequence front, the one Beckett's mother probably assumed I'd avoid because I looked like someone who didn't want to make a scene. I scheduled a police report appointment for after the bridal shower. Not to be dramatic, to be precise. The day of the bridal shower arrived with sunshine that felt offensive. The event space was decorated in soft colors and fake flowers, the kind that look pretty until you notice they're plastic. My best friend had planned games and a photo wall. My cousin had arranged pastries. It should have been sweet, but Beckett's mother had transformed it into a stage. Her relatives filled the room like an audience. Smiles everywhere. Eyes sharp, phones already held up, ready to capture whichever version of me they wanted to post. I walked in with Beckett beside me, my posture straight, my face calm. His mother hurried over, arms open. There she is, our girl. I let her hug me, and I whispered into her hair, so softly no one else could hear. I saw the cabin logs. Her arms stiffened around me for half a second. Then she pulled back and laughed, loud, like I'd told a joke. Oh, sweetheart, you're so funny. She guided us toward the center of the room, where the gift table was overflowing. Then she clinked a spoon against a glass. I felt the room hush. Before games, she announced, I want to say something, because family is about honesty. My stomach stayed steady. My hands didn't shake. This was what I came for. She turned toward me with that practiced smile. Waverly has been blessed with a little property from her aunt. A cabin. Such a gift. Murmurs. I watched Beckett's jaw tighten, but he stayed silent because he understood now. Let her talk, his mother continued, voice warm. And because she's joining us, we thought it would be wise to make sure everything stays protected within the family. There it was. A woman near the back laughed lightly, like it was all so sensible. His mother lifted the beige folder again. The same one. She'd brought it like a weapon disguised as paperwork. So, she said, today is a celebration, but it's also a moment to show commitment. I think it would mean a lot to Beckett. I stepped forward and smiled politely. Absolutely. Her eyes gleamed, triumphant. She handed me the pen. I took it, and then I did my version of calm compliance. I opened the folder, flipped to the signature page, and slid a single sheet of paper in front of it, covering the lines. What's that? She asked, still smiling. A simple acknowledgement, I said sweetly, just so we're all on the same page. Since you said honesty matters. She leaned in, reading, and I watched her face change by degrees, because the paper wasn't a fight. It was a deadline trap. It stated, in plain language, that no one had my permission to access, alter, or represent my property, and that any prior attempts would be treated as unauthorized entry and potential fraud. It also stated that any future requests to vendors on my behalf were unauthorized and that I had retained documentation of attempts. At the bottom was a space for her signature. Not mine, just hers. Witnessed. I kept my smile. If you want everyone to see commitment, I said gently, you can show your commitment to respecting my boundaries. Her fingers tightened around the pen. Her smile twitched. The room had gone quiet in that dangerous way, the way a crowd goes quiet when it senses blood. Beckett's sister shifted, eyes darting. A relative whispered something. His mother leaned toward me, voice low and sharp. You're embarrassing me. I tilted my head, still pleasant. No, I'm letting you choose what kind of person you want to be in front of them. Her face reddened. She looked around, then lifted her chin. I won't sign that, she said loudly, because I don't need permission to protect my son. And there it was. Protect my son, not support his marriage, not respect his partner. Protect him from me. Phones rose higher. I saw my coworker from the clinic in the corner, someone Beckett's mother had invited without telling me, because reputation was part of her strategy. If she could make me look shady in public, she could make me look risky everywhere. I took a slow breath and reached into my purse and pulled out my own folder. Not beige. Clear. Inside was the cabin lock log, printed neatly, the venue email thread, the driveway camera screenshots with timestamps written out in words, the locksmith visible, kneeling at my door, and a notarized letter from the neighbor attesting to what he saw. I didn't wave it around. I didn't shout. I simply placed it on the table beside the cake. Then I looked at Beckett's mother and said calmly, you already tried to protect him by breaking into my inheritance. The room sucked in a single breath. His mother's mouth opened, then closed. Someone whispered, what? Beckett stepped forward, voice steady, not loud. Mom, we have footage. His mother's eyes flashed with panic, then fury. That's not what happened. Beckett didn't argue. He just turned his phone toward the closest relative and played a short clip. No sound, no drama. Just her on my porch, pointing at my door while a locksmith worked. The relative's face strained. His mother snapped, turn that off! Beckett lowered his phone. No, he said quietly. I'm done turning things off to keep you comfortable. I felt my throat tighten, not from fear this time, but from a strange grief at how long it took for this to be visible. His mother's voice rose, desperate now. I was preventing a mistake. I was making sure you weren't trapped. Beckett's eyes were glassy. The only trap here is you. That sentence was the payoff promise returning, and I felt the room change around it. People weren't looking at me like I was the problem anymore. They were looking at her like she'd finally shown her real face. His sister rushed forward. Everyone, let's just... I held up a hand, gentle. No, I said softly. Let's be honest. That's what today was about. The silent revenge didn't come from me yelling. It came from me letting the proof breathe. People started stepping back from her, literally creating space around her body like she was heat. Her friends stopped smiling. Her relatives looked away. One aunt muttered, "This is not okay." Beckett's mother's eyes landed on me, sharp and wet. "You're doing this to me." I kept my voice quiet. "You did this to yourself." I just stopped laughing. Beckett turned to the room. "The wedding is still happening," he said, steady. "But anyone who thinks my partner is a threat can stay home." His mother's lips trembled. "If you marry her without the trust, you're a fool." Beckett didn't flinch. "Then I'll be a happy fool." The event ended fast after that. Not with chaos, with quiet exits, people making excuses, suddenly remembering errands. My best friend hugged me in the corner, shaking. My cousin wiped tears with the heel of her hand. Beckett's mother stood alone by the gift table, surrounded by the evidence she'd tried to bury. After everyone left, Beckett and I walked outside into the bright afternoon air. The sun felt different, like it wasn't mocking me anymore. He exhaled a long breath, then looked at me with something I hadn't seen in weeks. Relief. "I'm sorry it took this." I shook my head, voice soft. "I'm sorry I didn't listen earlier." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document. "I didn't tell you because I thought it would make you feel pressured," he said. I took it, hands suddenly unsteady. It was a prenup, already drafted, already signed by him, and in it, in plain language, it stated that any inheritance I brought into the marriage would remain mine, protected from any third-party claims, including his family. It also stated that any attempt by a relative to interfere with our financial autonomy would trigger separation of finances and a strict no-contact boundary. I stared at the pages, stunned. "You did this for me?" I whispered. He nodded, eyes shining. "I did it because I love you, and because I've been grieving the way my family tries to own me." The last scene came a week later at the cabin. We drove up together, windows down, the air smelling like pine and clean distance. The porch looked the same, but the feeling was different, like the place could finally breathe. Beckett installed a new lock while I stood beside him, holding screws and handing him tools. Practical teamwork, quiet repair. Then we went inside, and I pulled my aunt's note from the drawer where I kept it. "Protect your peace." I taped it to the inside of a cabinet door where I'd see it every time I reached for a mug. That night, we ate dinner at the small cabin table, just the two of us. No audience, no candles needed. The quiet was safe. And when my phone buzzed with one last message from Beckett's mother, something about misunderstandings and family loyalty, I didn't answer. I didn't have to, because Beckett took my phone gently, opened the settings, and blocked her number without a word, then looked up at me and said, "I choose you." And in that moment, the sentence that changed everything finally felt like mine to keep.